Hey, welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. I'm your host, Coach Zach. I'm here with Coach Jolie and Coach Adam. And today we are talking about the 5 pillars of fitness, 5 absolute musts if you want to feel amazing and be in great shape. So excited to talk about that. But before we do, we always like to give a shout out to a client of the week. And this week, Jolie, Adam, I'll let you guys go ahead because this was your pick.
Christine McConnell is going to be the client of the week.
Christine.
She is killer consistent, even at that early 5 a.m. hour, which can be difficult, but she just puts her head down, comes in, gets her work in, small group. We got maybe 2 to 3 people, but she stays absolutely locked in. We just got into our week 2 of our strength phase. So she's dialed on her weights, and she's like super excited to enter every piece of information that she can so she can just get better and better. So she's been great. Been seeing her in the mornings.
Track your weights. That's how you know you're improving.
Yeah.
You always have a way to
She used to not
up it.
And now she's like,
she's crushing
money.
it.
Let's go.
Money.
Let's go. I feel like you're either a 5 a.m.er or you're not a 5 a.m.er.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like the people that train at 5 a.m. that are like, they're consistent, they're showing up, they're like, I'm up at 4 a.m. no matter what, I'm going to be here. And then the people that are like, okay, new year, new me, I'm going to start training, I'm wake up, I'm going to get at the gym at 5 a.m. It's like that lasts for not even a day. Like usually they miss the first workout. Yeah. And then like, okay, maybe 5 a.m.'s not my time.
I was tired.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the 5 pillars of fitness. So I think what we'll do here, just to keep everybody hanging, we'll just do one at a time. And so we'll drop one and then we'll talk about it and then we'll drop another one. That way you guys got to listen through the whole episode and you don't just get the 5 and then leave and then bounce. So number 1, most important, I would say, I don't know if these are in order, but I think from a priority standpoint in terms of what's going to have the biggest impact, 3 workouts a week.
Yes.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
3 lift, like our lifestyle integrated fitness training workouts a week at a minimum. Like if you're on average, right? So like sometimes it's going to like ebb and flow in terms of your frequency, but I think like on average you zoom out over the course of like 10 years, if you are working out 3 times a week and getting like strength training in, that's going to have a huge impact in your longevity and your strength and just overall well-being, right? Like, would you guys agree with that? Pillar number 1?
Yeah. I mean, you got to come and you have to get your strength training in because that's what we do here. And I think that's the minimum to really see adaptations take place. And that's what we're trying to do, both neurologically and physically, adaptations of both kind. So 3 times a week. And that's not to say that you can't go and do another type of form of workout outside of that, but we want to make sure that we're hitting those 3 strength training days as kind of a base. And then, I mean, go ahead and, mix it up outside if you want to. You can get different forms of workout, but I think that's, the 3 days is crucial strength.
Yeah. Like there's no, I don't think like based off of research, scientific, obviously what we believe, but also backed by research is like, there's no alternative or adequate alternative to strength training. It's like the number 1 thing. There's no other type of exercise that you can do that's going to have the same impact on your longevity, on injury prevention, strength. You're lowering your morbidity rate. Like strength is number 1. Number 2, number 1 is like cardiovascular health, which a lot goes into that. But number 2 in terms of like lowering your risk of morbidity is strength.
Yeah.
And number 3 is muscle mass. So are you training accordingly? Mm-hmm. Right. Any comments on that, Jolie, or do we move to number 2?
Even just building the habit out, I think 3 days a week too is good for just saying like, hey, I know that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday are going to be my days that I'm getting my lift sessions in, and making sure that you're making it, an actual habit and it's in your calendar too. I think 3 days a week is
Yeah.
It's a good one.
General
with it.
general rule of thumb is like 2 times a week to maintain where you're at. You have to be training at least 3 times a week if you're going to make any progress whatsoever.
Right.
And 2 times a week would be like all other conditions being perfect.
Yeah.
Right,
too.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's tough.
Okay. Number 2, I would say is sleep. Do you guys agree?
Sleep.
Sleep. Adam's like, I don't sleep.
Yeah.
What is sleep?
Burned out.
I would say 7+ hours of sleep a night is the probably second biggest. So, it just has so many different, it impacts everything, right? And so if you're not sleeping, the only Band-Aid for that is exercise. Like exercise will mask a lot of the symptoms from sleep deprivation. But that's also like a ticking time bomb. Like it's only so long. Like, yeah, you can temporarily suppress, more effective than caffeine. Like a hard workout will suppress, the symptoms of sleep deprivation, but you can't do that long term. Like every bodily function essentially is impacted by getting enough sleep. And if you're not getting at least 7 hours a night, almost at a week, if you're not getting at least 7+ hours of sleep a night, you're creating a pretty big deficit, and there's going to be negative side effects for that.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
people can get locked in on that number a lot, and there's different, obviously, qualities of sleep.
Right.
So there's the whole, if you talk to somebody in the gym and they say, yeah, over the last 24 hours, I've gotten like 7 hours, 6 hours. Yeah, like they slept like 3 hours last night and then came and worked out and then maybe went and got like a 3-hour nap or something in the middle of the day,
Right.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more about like the quality, not just logging those hours, but trying to find that big chunk of time, that 6, 7, 8 hours where you can fully get to that REM, that deep sleep, like fully recharge. Because I mean, as much as we like napping, it's probably not great quality and it's usually very fast.
Yeah.
So it's not the best form.
Quick little siesta could help, but like
Could
15
definitely help.
minutes is, probably enough.
Yeah.
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 It's interesting that, so people always look at like us, our training program, as important from an accountability standpoint. And I always tell people are kind of always shocked when they come in for like a consultation. I'm like, there's really nobody that can hold you accountable except you, right? Like we can help facilitate momentum. We can try to keep you on track. We can make it fun for you to come in here. We can obviously give you all the tools, all the resources, but at the end of the day, like you're the only one that can make you show up.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we have like these 5 pillars of fitness. A lot of times we can't even get people to lay down and sleep. Like
Yeah,
that's our
true.
ask. That's our ask. Like
Sleep.
sleep. Like just don't do anything. Just lay down and sleep for 7+ hours, and it's gonna be super helpful to and positive towards your health and fitness. And people can't accomplish that. So like, what chance do we have of holding you accountable if you won't even sleep when we ask you to?
Yeah.
All right. So sleep is number 2. Number 3, what do you guys think would be the next, I guess, most important pillar?
Hydration.
Hydration?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Hydration. What does that mean? What does hydration mean? I guess, so obviously we know, well, you got to drink water, but like 2 things, right? Number 1, we're asking people to lay down and do nothing for 7 hours. Seems like it shouldn't be a hard ask, but it is.
Yeah.
Number 2 is like drink water, and that's almost impossible to
Right.
get certain people to do.
But Zach, water is boring.
Oh gosh.
It tastes
You're
awful.
boring.
It tastes like nothing.
Well, 60 to 70% of your body is water. So
Oh.
don't know if you knew that or not, bro.
Better drink some.
Yeah.
Hydration also, like your cells, which is what your body is made up of, billions of them,
Yeah.
they function off of water. They are mostly water. And if you even are dehydrated by as little as 4%, there starts to be negative side effects from that, especially cognitive function. So it always amuses me when people are like, yeah, I just go to work and I'm just so busy, I forget to drink water. I'm like too busy to drink water. And I'm like, yeah, so every hour you're becoming more and more dehydrated in your brain. Cognitive function is decreasing and diminishing. And so you're becoming less and less productive instead of taking 30 seconds to drink some water.
Right.
Smart. Good investment on your part.
Yeah. And I think so many people wake up too, and their first thing that they go to reach for is like a coffee or an energy drink. So they're like already dehydrating themselves when you've already woken up in a dehydrated state, right? So I think a big part of it is getting front load some of that water, some of that hydration in the morning when you wake up.
Yeah. Like I would say you need to be drinking 20 to 30 ounces of water within 30 minutes of being awake.
Agreed.
And if you want to have even more of a benefit from that, you would add electrolytes into that, or at the minimum some like salt.
Yeah.
Some sodium. And also just like y'all are, vain, admit it, like your skin impacted by your hydration, right? Like everything, your hair, your skin, the brightness of your eyes, hydration, right? So
internally, like your stomach, if you're smashing your stomach with coffee immediately, that's going to have long-term effects. Like you're just destroying your stomach lining too. So it's good to
I feel personally attacked. Personally attacked, Adam. Personally attacked. I do enjoy my coffee in the morning.
There's water in coffee.
I do always start with water before I drink my coffee, but I do love that first cup of coffee in the morning.
Of course.
Me too.
Yeah,
of course.
One of 6.
Inject this in my veins.
There's nothing wrong with drinking coffee. There's lots of positive, benefits to that. But what we're saying is you have to hydrate. And you need, because you've fasted now for at least 7 hours, if you are sleeping, an adequate amount, because you fasted for all that time, you should drink water first, hydrate up, front load a little bit, and then from there, just 8 ounces of water every hour for the next 10 hours of your day. That's a standard kind of, like the human body, that's like a minimum requirement in a vacuum. So it is 80 ounces of water within the first 10 hours of your day. That's not in Arizona where it's 120 degrees during the summer and dry. Yeah. So your environment would impact that a little bit as well. So,
very true.
And I don't care if water's boring, just drink it anyway. Just drink it, man. Like lay down, do nothing, and drink water. Sorry, those are such hard asks for you.
Sounds like a nice, relaxing day.
It does sound like a nice, relaxing day. All right. Next on the list, protein.
Yes.
Protein intake. So, what do you guys think is like, if you just had to guess, what do you think the average protein intake of an American is? An American female. Let's go American female. Daily intake protein.
30 to 50.
To 50, because that's like, everyone's big meal is dinner. And you can assume, hopefully, that there's some solid protein source there, as maybe a third of that plate. But the other meals, who knows?
30 to 50 grams.
30 to 50 grams.
I would say.
What should it be? Minimum.
Let's drop the equation.
Super complicated. Okay, go ahead.
1 gram of protein per pound of body weight to see progress or build muscle essentially. I wouldn't even go. I would say it's more than that, but like as a minimum to just survive and be healthy, a gram.
Just survive.
I guess you could survive off of no protein. People are doing it, obviously, but just to be healthy and meet your adequate dietary amount, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you think, I mean, who knows? I won't ask you what the average American woman weighs, but like, let's just say a healthy American woman weighs somewhere between 130 and 160 pounds, like somewhere in that range. How many, like if most women are getting 30 to 50 grams of protein in, you're dying inside.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, that's not even close.
Yeah.
And it's it's amazing how people are like, I don't understand. I don't eat that much. And they have a super high body fat percentage, very little muscle. They're losing bone mass as they age. And they're like, I don't understand what's going on here. I don't eat and I'm overweight. It's like, yeah, because you don't eat any protein and you're filling up on all kinds of garbage that's empty calories instead of fueling your body. And if you're somebody, sorry, you got me going here,
Go,
but if
run.
you're somebody that has like cravings
Yes,
if you have
yes.
cravings, people are like, oh, I just have a sweet tooth, or at night, I just crave something salty and crunchy. That's because you're deprived of nutrients because you had 30 grams of protein instead of 130 grams of protein. Go eat that 130 grams throughout the day and then tell me you have a craving because you won't. You'll be so full and satiated. You'll be like, I can't eat another thing.
Yeah.
And so instead of being like, oh, it's a battle of will, I just don't have the willpower, I just have to snack at night. It's like, no, that's such a backwards way of approaching it. Instead, let's go process of elimination by inserting so much protein into your diet that you're no longer hungry, your body's no longer deficient in nutrients so that you don't have those cravings and you have no desire. And it's not a matter of willpower at that point.
Right.
Yeah. You feel satiated, you feel satisfied when you get that protein in. And I think that's something that people just don't recognize. They're like, oh yeah, I know I should eat more protein, but then they actually start to add it in and they're like, oh, actually I feel great. I feel good. I don't want dessert every night,
People get so, I think they get intimidated by the tracking, being able to track everything and stuff like that. And a lot of times I'll just tell people to just start with the protein because it's gonna have a ripple effect on the other macros and the other parts of your diet. So it's like if you're making a food selection during the day, find out, first of all, choose wisely, then find out how much protein is in whatever you're choosing, start to formulate numbers, just tally that protein number, get into a ballpark, use like a week or something like that, get into a ballpark, see what you're averaging. That's going to give you a great kind of benchmark of what we eat pretty habitually, right? So it's going to be probably relatively close to the same every day, if that's good or bad. And then you can make your adjustments from there and start as you get more comfortable logging, counting certain macros and things like that, everything will just become easier. The entire nutrition framework, not just the protein part.
Yeah. And that's why when somebody starts like their second week, we're like, hey, log everything you eat and drink. Right. And the number one place we're going to start is hydration, but then like next would be your protein intake. And what we want to do is we want to identify like, okay, here's what somebody's, currently doing. And because you're not going to go from 30 grams of protein a day to 100 grams of protein a day overnight.
Right.
You're going to be miserable. You're going to feel sick and like, so full and bloated. So it's a process of like gradually increasing it. So it's like figure out what you're doing habitually. And then it's like, let's figure out how we can start upping the amount of protein you're getting like at each meal and then just gradually grow it from there. And then over the course, it doesn't take a super long time, over the course about like 2 weeks actually, you can get to a point where you're consuming the amount of protein that you should be consuming. So but incredibly important from just an overall health standpoint. And people are crashing in the middle of the day. And it's like, well, you're crashing and then you're drinking caffeine in the middle of the day because you're not drinking water, you're not eating enough protein, you're not getting enough sleep. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
5 pillars of fitness. This is really all you need, guys. If you, we came up with this episode because I posed the question to you guys, like, what are the things that like are most important that people would need in order to be super successful with their program? And it was like, these are the 5 things. Like if somebody just does these, they're going to be optimal for the most part. It's like, of course we could go down a rabbit hole and all the different like hacks and all, wake up and cold plunge and, breath work and like all these things. But what's realistic for people? Well, this shouldn't really be that hard. They should just be like the pillars, honestly. All right. Last one, recovery. So probably not obvious to people. I wouldn't think, like if they were guessing what number 5 was. But I think recovery is really important from a longevity standpoint and taking care of your muscle tissue, your mobility, your flexibility. I mean, it's shown that I think when you're over, I think it's 30 years old, maybe it's 20, like how every year there's like a 4% decrease in your flexibility. And so it's really important in order to maintain that we're taking care of our muscle tissue and we're recovering. There's the stretch component is really important. Trigger point therapy. That's why we build those things into our program. So when every workout, there's, something we're addressing. But also like active recovery as well. So Adam, you want to explain what that means to people?
Yeah. So if we take like our first pillar being, 3 days of strength training a week, there's 7 days a week. So that's not saying don't go and do nothing on those other 4 days. Sure, you can take, if you don't want to do anything on Sundays or something like that, where you just, chill, life's, have your activities, whatever. But active recovery is still moving the body, just not putting yourself under stress, the same amount of physical stress that you would in like a strength training session. So, long walks is great. Even like things like biking, things that you wouldn't think necessarily as recovery. They're kind of like, some people would consider them workouts even, or exercise. Yeah. But as far as
it's all relative, right? Yeah. Depending on your fitness level.
Yeah. But the stress that you're putting on your body, it's just a much lower stress benchmark, but you're still, you're burning calories, you're staying active, you're keeping routine. I would say that consistency that you're trying to build with your strength training regime, it kind of rolls into the rest of the week. So if you're going to come and strength train 3, maybe 4 days, you're going to have maybe 1 or 2 days of active recovery. And then maybe you do have a day where you do nothing, which is fine. But I think it's important, and it's not a come in here and work hard and then just bail on the rest of your week kind of situation.
Or just go, balls to the wall all the time. Because
that's overtraining.
The part of recovery that why this is so important is if you've ever gotten injured, then you know how that impacts your ability to continue working out. And most people, when they get injured, they lose momentum in everything else. So they're like, what's the point? I'm hurt. I can't work out right now, which you almost can always work out, FYI, regardless of what your doctor says. They're not that smart. They're like, just walk, go ahead, become a patient of ours for life. It's cool. Some money making scheme. That's a different topic. Subject for a different day. But if you get injured, it's like it makes it harder to work out, and then it can throw your sleep off. You're not sleeping well because you're in pain, and then your nutrition goes and you're pounding caffeine, and like it can send you down this vicious cycle. So that's why I say it's also kind of the 5th pillar is like, let's make sure we stay healthy too, from a physical standpoint, like our ability to move, and if we feel really agile, it's much easier to just like take on everything else. If you've been sick, it's like you don't feel like doing much, right? Yeah. Same kind of thing. So, cool. The 5 pillars. 5 pillars. At least 3 strength training workouts a week. Got to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. Got to hydrate, drink lots of water, at least 80 ounces first 10 hours of your day. I would front load that for sure. Got to get your body weight in grams of protein, and then make sure you're recovering. And they all kind of tie together, really. So if you guys are like, hey, how do I, what's the like bare minimum that I could do in order to just be in amazing shape? That's probably it. right? Those 5 things. So it's not that hard, guys. It's really not that hard. Like I said, we're asking you to lay down for 7 hours. Do nothing.
Drink water.
Drink water.
Lift a bottle to your mouth.
Lift the bottle.
Drink
Yeah.
it.
All right. That's it, guys. That's all we got for you this week. We'll be back next week with more great stuff. Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.